With me, welcome Troy.
Thanks for inviting me.
Troy, your story is phenomenal. A lot of young players out there want to aspire to be like you. You're inspiration for a lot of young kids, coming from non-league up to the football league and actually playing in the Premiership, which is phenomenal for any youngster. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got to play for QPR?
Well, obviously I started as every kid does, playing in the park, and then from there at a certain age you go and play for a Sunday team. And then eventually, after playing for quite a few Sunday teams with pals and stuff like that, I moved on to playing at Clapton, which is sort of like the lowest tier in non-league. And being there, I learned a lot. Playing men's football at the age of 16, 17 years old, you do learn a lot really fast. So that was good for me. It sort of pushed me into wanting to go higher because I felt like I could do better and I could do more, which I got the opportunity to do eventually. But while at Clapton, I learnt enough to then move on to Ilford.
A step above.
Yeah.
How was the time there?
It was good because the manager there at the time was at Clapton before, and he liked me at the time, so he sort of buffered me into another level, which was good because then I felt comfortable to be able to do what I wanted to do on the ball and involved in the play on the pitch. So that was good for me. And then obviously yourself came along, watched me. Gave me the opportunity of moving up another level to Harrow, which is obviously Ramen Prem, which is not the easiest level to play at. It's quite difficult coming from lower down to just jump straight into it because it's quite a competitive league.
So you actually stayed there for, well, let's just say a season. You stayed there for a season, but in half a season you got a lot of obviously attention. What is it that you did different to when you was at the lower levels?
I think it's just more. It was more about the opportunity that I had with the manager that was there. And obviously in that year, I think in that year I bloomed a lot in terms of my personal body, fitness, strength, confidence. My attributes improved a bit, and at that time I had the desire to then go another level higher, and it all added up to make me the better player. And then from there I got the interest from a few clubs, and then I took the opportunity.
Okay, and then you went to QPR. So when you was at Harrow and you was actually doing really, really well, you're scoring your goals, at any stage did you think, you was going to escalate that quickly in that short period of time?
Not really, no. It sort of happened quite quickly, not within like a day, but from the start of the season till maybe December, I was doing really well, and I was hearing about certain clubs coming to have a look and stuff like that, but because the manager there at the time, Halsey, just sort of said to me, ignore that and keep doing what you're doing, it helped me forget that that's what I wanted to do and more enjoy the football itself, which is a massive deal. Because obviously I felt that if I wasn't enjoying it, then it becomes a bit more of a, I'm not sure, I feel like there's more pressure on my shoulders. Because he made me feel like there was less pressure, I did well. So then in that period of time, I got a few clubs interested in me, and then from there it was a matter of trying to get out and get them to see me, and then from there I went to QPR. It was good.
So how was you feeling when that actual opportunity came about, where QPR and loads of other clubs came about? Was it QPR that you said as soon as they came in, and was that for you that I have to go there?
Well, they was first to make contact. We did play them that pre-season in a friendly, not the first team in the reserves, but the reserve manager at the time, he did make contact with Harrow at the time to ask about me. So from there, when I heard about QPR, I was a bit taken back at first. I was a bit like, is this really going to happen, sort of thing? But then I sort of put it to the back of my mind and just tried to concentrate on playing every Saturday because I was enjoying it a lot. I was scoring goals, and obviously as a striker you score goals, you enjoy football a lot more. So when the opportunity to go there for a trial came up, I was ecstatic, really. It was like a dream come true because from the age of say 7 till the age of 20 I'd always wanted to be a professional footballer, and it seemed like it was there for me to just reach out and grab. So I was really happy with it.
Right, so then you went, obviously you're still at Harrow, still playing, but then you had the opportunity to go there, train and then play games.
Yeah, I went on trial for a week period, which was 2 games against 2 clubs, and the first game I didn't play a full game, but I was training for about 3 days, and then after another 2 days there was another reserve game, and I played in that game and I scored. So that sort of again made me feel like this could really this could happen. It's not a fairy tale sort of thing. It is possible. So it was good. They gave me a good opportunity there. That's right, yeah.
So did you learn anything in that period? Even though it was a week, do you feel you learned a lot in that week?
I learned quite a lot because at the time the club was rising from the Championship to the Premiership. So the players that were there were really competitive players in the first team, in the reserves, even down to the youth team. So going there, I learned that like in non-league, sort of there's a brand of football which is it's not really true that that's the brand, but the thing you sort of hear about it is that it's long ball, it's physical, it's not so technical. I took what I had from non-league into my trial at a professional club, and the main thing that I noticed the difference was the balls on the floor all the time, sort of thing. So for me, within the first 2 days, I sort of got myself to keep in my mind to not lose what I've already learned, but to make sure that I adapt with what they've got and keep the ball, look after the ball, you give it, make a move for the next angle, everything like that, but then while still being competitive physically. So it was good. It was good to see the two sides at once before I signed.
So was you starstruck when you got there and you saw all of the players, that obviously some boys that had been in the Premiership, the boys that had been in the Championship, or did you feel comfortable from day one?
Yeah, not so much. Yeah, starstruck is quite a strong word to use, because you would think going into a professional club straight away, you would think, wow, look, these are professionals, these are the ones that were in the Prem, these are the ones that have done Championship, maybe even League One, you would still be a bit taken back. But going there, they did welcome me very, very, quite comfortably. They didn't make me feel excluded. They actually made me feel welcome in every kind of way, while having lunch with them, sitting down. No one sort of gave you the cold shoulder because you're on trial and you're from non-league. Everyone really did help you feel comfortable.
So you felt comfortable from day one,
yeah,
so straight away you was at ease, which is very important, isn't it?
Because obviously, from an outsider's point of view, professional footballers may seem I'm not sure how to explain it, but maybe they might seem like they've got a shield, that you're not allowed inside that sort of shield, but it's not like that at all.
Yeah, so that was good. So you enjoyed that experience, and then all of a sudden you came back. And how long did it take before you actually was told that, okay, you know what, QPR are very serious and they want to make that offer?
At the end of the week for my trial, I did get offered a contract. So and I went back for one more game at Harrow Borough, and I already knew that by the next week I was going to be a full-time footballer. But I still had that thought in my mind that, maybe I've been offered a contract, maybe it might not work in the next few days, maybe they'll decide not to sign me. So going back for Harrow Borough, I still gave everything I had in that one game, knowing that, I'm going to go back to QPR. But it was a surreal sort of feeling.
Yeah, well, definitely, I think your story is a great story, because at the end of the day, you've come from lower level football, as you said, step 5, then to play in step 3. You didn't even go into the conference, you went from the conference, avoiding the conference, going straight into a team. Basically, you went straight into being part of a Championship winning side and being part of a Premiership side. And obviously, you had how long was your contract?
A 2.5-year contract.
Which is phenomenal, which not a lot of people from non-league are going to get, are they, straight away?
Yeah, of course. But when I was at Harrow Borough, I wasn't going there with the thoughts of this is going to be a stepping stone, because for me it was still feeling like a high level. So at first I just wanted to fit in, I wanted to feel like this is a good level for me, and then progress from there. But once, say, the first 10 games went by for Harrow Borough, I was thinking that possibly I could play higher again, maybe the conference. But as you say, I skipped it, so I got quite lucky with that. But maybe it was just because I was in the right place at the right time. I had the right people around me. I had the right attitude at the time. So it was a good experience for me to step up so quickly. Not many people get that opportunity.
No, of course, and I think it's all the great youngsters, and there's going to be a lot of kids now watching it, and there's going to be a lot of people that is in non-league. What would you say about non-league football while you was in it, in the time that you spent in non-league football? What do you think you learned in non-league football while you was there?
Like I said, I started at 16, 17, so at that time I was quite a small player at that time. I wasn't the biggest. So when you go into men's football, you have to learn to adapt quickly to the physical side of it. Because maybe the football side, obviously kids growing up now are watching Barcelona, they're watching Real Madrid, everything's very technical. So you can't forget that non-league is very, very physical. So in the time that I spent, the 3 years that I stepped up each year, I did learn that, it's not a walk in the park. You have to take it very seriously. Just because it's not full-time football doesn't mean that the level that some of the players there, some of the clubs are at, is very high. And you will find gems in non-league at every single level in non-league. You just have to obviously take the opportunity if you are.
And what would you say to any of the youngsters that are watching now that are playing in non-league and they want to be a league football player tomorrow? Because there's a lot of people that are impatient. They want to get there straight away. And, you know, people are going to look at your story today and be like, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it, which is great. But what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
I would give the advice of just don't stop trying, because at a certain point I did feel like possibly I want to, you know, kick back with football and sort of make it my secondary, you know, dream in my mind, because I did start university while I was at Harrow. Yeah, so for me, football did take sort of a back burner, because I started to feel like it became not so much like a chore or became too hard, but you know, football's a lot to do with confidence. And if you feel like, oh, it's not working, and you're 17, 18 years old, you don't realise the bigger picture that you're actually still very young. You know, I spoke to a non-league player who used to be a professional player at like youth team level, and I had a conversation with him on the pitch after the game, and I said to him like, oh, you're going to go back to a professional club? And he said, oh, I don't know, I'm quite old. And at the time I was 19, and I was looking at him thinking, how are you old? If you're still a teenager, just because you see other players that are in the Premiership playing at 16, 17 doesn't mean that your time is up. You know, I did actually feel like from that conversation with him, I felt to myself, no, I'm going to do it still. I'm determined to do it, no matter how long it takes. You know, I looked at another player who went from non-league at the age of 25. At the age of 25, you would think that your time's up, but it's really not. You just have to keep striving to do it.